Now remember, you got to be on that other show soon.
Hey, what the hell is going on? What the hell's going on, yo? Hey, that's fucked up. Let's try it again.
Welcome to the Big BoneYard. Enter at your own risk.
Man, thank y'all for joining us tonight here on the Big BoneYard. We got beat up with technical difficulties. I never thought in my whole life I'd be able to say that shit out loud, but yeah. So we had that tonight. But thank y'all for joining us here at the Big BoneYard. We got, of course, Archbishop One Percenter in the MFN house. and trying not to cuss for some silly ass reason. Archbishop One Percenter and the man, the myth, legend, Invaders MC's finest, doggone Shaggy.
Well, that's debatable.
Man, glad to see you here, brother. Glad to see you here. So, and all y'all folks that are joining us out there, it's absolutely good to see y'all. Hey, so in the meantime, let me tell you what we chopping it up about tonight. This is actually kind of a interesting subject. We talk about it comes up all the time. And MC bosses, that's your, chapter president, vice president, maybe even a number three, like a sergeant arms or something, depending on, what you're doing, where you at, But the question is, like on the movies and stuff, the movies or the TV shows and all like that, they'll have you thinking that a motorcycle club is either, like them dudes from the Wild Hogs on one end, or freaking the Sopranos on motorcycles all the way on the other end, right? But in real life, what is it? It's probably somewhere in the middle, and how do you make that club, that organization, a good organization? So that's what we're going to talk about a little something tonight, man. We're going to chop it up a little bit. But to begin, as we always talk about, our thing is our thing. What I say, what Shaggy says, Archbishop, whatever we're saying, that's just us. Our opinions are not those of our respective motorcycle clubs or any other organizations. This is what we have to say about what we say. So that's what we call our disclaimer, and that is what it is. That's us talking. The other thing, all the people that support us, we absolutely appreciate it. Y'all might notice tonight we've got a thing going on. I don't know where you're watching us. The reason I get to say that is because, man, we're some all over the place. We're in a couple of live on a couple of Facebook groups, on also on Facebook page at Bone OFFO. We're there, of course. We're on YouTube, so we're kind of all over the place. And the wonderful people at Fran Hash made that happen because clearly they dig what we do, and I'm not technological, so they figured out how to get that done for us. But it's kind of cool. It's definitely kind of cool. So you folks, thank y'all for joining us tonight, and let's go ahead and get it started. Shaggy, how come you hate motorcycle club presidents?
I don't. I think our
I might have said a
motorcycle
little
club
bit.
presidents are the true alpha males of our club. If they are the ones that are elected not because of popularity contest, but because they belong in that position, because they're what's best for the club, they're what's best for the chapter, and they're going to do the job to the best of their ability. And they got that kind of charismatic way that you follow them into the depths of hell and back, and you do anything to protect them, and you would not follow them blindly, but know that when they spoke and when they did their job as they should do that they were doing it in the best interest of the club, not themselves, and that they're there to serve the club and they're there to serve their brothers to a different level than what any other member would be serving them. They need to be very. I mean, there's special people that have such great leadership abilities throughout every club in this country, and there's guys that belong there, and there's guys that really belong there, and there's guys that shouldn't even be anywhere near that. But
Right.
motorcycle club presidents are the guys that know how to herd cats.
You kill me with the stuff you say, man. But no, I feel you. He just said herding cats. All right, but I get where you're going with that, though. Well, let me ask you, Archbishop, because you're going to say another one of them cat herding things, Shaggy. And I'm trying to be serious and try not to laugh too much. You're killing me.
Man, so there's nothing serious about his lifestyle. We just make it harder what we need to, and that's when it gets serious.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's a fact. I'm still tripping off that football bat.
Oh, football bat? Yeah, no, I got all kinds of them tonight, you know. I had to watch the beginning of Full Metal Jacket this morning so I get a little bit of motivation. So, man, I'm going to have them coming today.
Right on. Hey, Archbishop, when you think about a good, and we're going to talk about some other, the number 1, 2, maybe the number 3 as well. But when you think of a proper, and this is before we get into how to build and all that kind of stuff, but your idea of a proper MC president, like you meet a guy, what makes you think that he's the one? Like, what sort of qualities do you look for? Do you think, yeah, man, that guy, he's got it? You know what I mean?
Well, starting off, he has to have that right mindset. You have to, one thing that you have to remember, you have to run your chapter for the majority of the chapter, not the few. It's always going to be a few that's not going to like what you're doing, but you're doing what you're doing for the majority, for the overall goal of building that chapter. The person that you have there, he said, it's not a popularity contest. I mean, it's actually, I know during the times I was doing it, I'm like, hell, it's one if I ain't out of presence and shit with everything that you got to deal with, because you have to be versatile. You have to be able to, you have to be a thinker. You got to be able to make decisions on the fly, but you also have to be a thinker. You have to be able to strategize what's going on, because you also have to think that the decisions you make pertains to the lives of everybody in that chapter. And if you're not a thinking person, if you know how some people say, I play chess while other people play checkers. You have to know exactly, people say it all the time. Like I told you earlier today, a lot of people say that, but there's a couple of things involved with that. You have to know what degree of expertise that chess player is. Number one, is he a beginner, intermediate, advanced? You got to know his skill set. Also, a president, he has to know how to read people. He has to know who he has in his chapter and what their abilities are, to be able to put them in the right positions, to be able to get the maximum amount of stuff from them. You know what I mean? You can't, you're not going to make somebody a treasurer who can't count. You're not going to make somebody a secretary that can't write.
Can't spell or write, yeah.
So you got to be able to. It's a lot of different things involved in it.
But wait a minute. What if the guy that wants to be the treasurer is your homeboy, and he can't count, but he is your friend, and y'all was back in grade school together, and your mom used to date his dad and all that kind of stuff?
No, I don't care about that. Friendship has nothing to do with the overall runnings of the club. See, and that's where you run into the problems at. Is because you want to put your homeboy over in this spot, and you want to put your cousin over here, stuff like that, and it's not what they're cut out for. Not everybody's set up to do particular jobs. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to know that person in order to be able to say, okay, he's good at this position, or he's good at this, and I can put him here, or I can put him there. So you got to be versatile in that. But you also, the key to being a good president is that you got to be unbiased. That is the key to being a good president. Yeah. No matter what goes on, no matter whether you like the individual or not, you have to be unbiased. You have to rule your chapter with an unbiased opinion, and your judgment has to reflect that.
Right. So it's like you as a president, I always thought of, I mean, I know for myself, when I've been in that position, or even now in the COC, uh, you have to actively work at being unbiased, which is true, but also, you have to kind of move, well, not kind of, you have to represent the body, because there's been plenty of times where either in the COC or in my old club, I was a state boss for this thing, for the old club. And there was a few times that I would say to myself after a vote or something like that, because as a president, I did not have a vote. I was a tiebreaker. I didn't have a vote.
That
And
is the key right there.
yeah, they'd come up with some
That's probably one of the most
shit.
important points you could ever make about being a president is you do not vote. You're a tiebreaker.
Yeah. And the thing that was crazy though is some of those times, some of those votes, I thought, man, that's the craziest shit I just heard. And guess what? Whatever they came up with, that's what the hell I did. That's what I was pushing. And I didn't put no spin on it. I didn't say, well, even though they voted this way, we're really going to do it that way. No, whatever the hell they said, that's what I did, And I think that's actually something that we should delve into a little bit as well, which is the role of a president. And then, we'll get to the other guys too. But so what's a president's actual job? Because again, on TV, you see you're watching Suns or Mayans or Wild Hogs, and it's just some guy screaming, yelling, and throwing things. But in real life, what is the actual function of a chapter president? Shaggy, you take it.
Well, so first thing I want to say is let's go ahead and get the elephant out of the room here. Not every club in this country or every 1% club in this country have presidents that are appointed and they are dictators. I have heard that there are some clubs that have a set up that way, and if that's how they want to do it, that's the way they chose it as their membership voted in to do, and so they got to live with that. But I would have to say, just a guess here, I don't have any proof of it, but everybody I've ever talked to says, man, you got to be nominated. You have to accept the nomination. There's usually a discussion. And then there's a vote, and the vote should never, ever be, and I don't give a fuck if it's national, regional, or chapter level. There should never be a ballot vote. You should never write on a piece of paper. You should put your dick skinner in the air, yes or no. The person you're voting for it's not about them seeing who is saying no or who's saying yes, but it is about brothers coming together. And that's part of the communication. It's part of the process of saying, hey, brother, maybe you're not ready yet, or man, that brother was, you just don't have the qualities. Yeah, it all sounds good when you sit down and you talk about things, but man, we've seen you try to communicate something in church, and it takes you all damn day. We do 5-hour meetings. We sure hate to see you run the damn thing, or the other thing too is it's a very good motivating tool for the person who's being elected to see just how much support he has from his brothers. That's the first thing. You follow that process. The next thing, if you do get elected and it's your first time being the president, it doesn't matter what officer positions you served prior to that, you're in a position you've never served before, and it's the most detrimental, most thankless job you will ever have in your life. You will serve the club 24/7, 365. You are expected to answer your phone. You're expected to give up everything you're doing in your life. It doesn't matter what it is. And if you can't accept that, you better not accept the nomination. Period.
Yeah, and it's like I'll be honest with you. I don't miss well, I'm saying from the old club, I don't miss those nonstop 3 a.m. to
no, I don't miss the phone calls either.
The other thing, everything, right?
Right. Well, the other thing that you need to accept prior to taking the nomination, because the minute you're elected, this is a fact. You are no longer a brother in your chapter. You are no longer a brother in your motorcycle club. Now, there's a couple things I'm going to say about that. First off, is why you are no longer a brother is because you are the president of this chapter, your chapter or your region or your nation. Brothers will try to come to you and say, hey, man, can we have a brother-on-brother talk? I've had this happen to me. And I lost my very first time I was president in my former club. I lost that, like my President's pin was pulled because of that kind of a conversation. I went, yeah, and I listened to the dude. Next thing I know, hey, the president said, Shaggy said, the president said, and now, you are beholden because you are the leader, you are the speaker, you're supposed to be the example, right? So put that in context. Now, the president should always be considered a brother first. The presidency or any other officer position is an extra job that you're doing because you want to serve your club.
Okay.
There's a couple things though when you become the president.
So wait,
Understand that
is that contradictory though? Because on the one hand,
absolutely
you said president's not a brother, and then you said
he should
but
be
his
treated like a
person is
brother
be a
first.
brother. Yeah.
So what I said it like that because I want you to ask that question right there. And here's the deal: a lot of times these presidents are the hardest. There's two officer positions that are the hardest working positions in the entire club. That's your secretary, and that's your president. Okay, these people are not, people don't understand how much the secretary actually does, but they'll and the secretary does all the internal shit. The
Yeah.
president does all the internal shit plus all the external shit.
Right.
So those guys kind of get treated as, again, I started out with it's a thankless job. Like people are always constantly expecting you to do everything, and they can't even say, "Hey, thanks, brother," whatever. They just they expect it, and so brothers have a tendency to forget that they're dealing with their brother who is serving them, and it gets to the point where it's not. It's your job to do this. I'm expecting you to do this, and it goes from where you'd be sitting around the bar chewing fat and say, "Hey man, I'm gonna be working on a whatever. Hey, you mind coming over and helping me?" And you talk to your brother like a brother. A lot of
Right.
presidents don't get talked like presidents; they get talked like their servants. Now it's privately usually, or usually one on one, but I've witnessed so many times, and guys forget that their presidents are their brothers first, and
Right.
those presidents can need time off. They need to be able to clear their head. They need to have that time to sit in the clubhouse and get just rip roaring stupid drunk. You got to be able to blow off some steam. A lot of times presidents, man, they don't get to do that. You'll find a lot of the presidents throughout the country and the world that are presidents in these nations. They don't drink, they don't do drugs, they don't hang out, they don't do this, they don't do that, because why? They're responsible for everybody that's in their care.
Right on. Well, hey,
So
we just got somebody that just joined us, doggone Inquire 1%er. From the mighty Outcast Nation. He was there. He disappeared. He'll probably be back in a second. There he is. He's that guy right there. I don't know what's going on. Hey, can you hear us okay? Okay. We can see you, but we can't hear you. Let me double check and see if we got any.
No, that was me. I had it muted. My apologies.
Okay. Right on. Well, look, Inquire, welcome to the Big BoneYard, brother. What we've been doing, stand by. Okay, I just got a message about a thing. So what we're gonna do is inquire what we're doing is, and forgive me about that, fellas. I'm gonna jump off in just a second. I want y'all to Archbishop, y'all just chop it up for a second. I'm gonna do a phone call, but in the meantime, what we're doing, Inquire, we're talking about chapter presidents, VPs, maybe even a number 3. The question I was posing to Shaggy was, and he was poetic. And then he cussed a lot. I don't know. No, but for real, man, what's going on is, or the question is, one, wait a minute. What the hell was my question? It was, no, what is the duty of a chapter president? We were talking about a lot of stuff. Chapter president, what's his actual freaking job?
Is that a question posed to me to answer?
That's for you. Yes, sir. Right. That's you.
Well, I appreciate you gentlemen having me on this call. Archbishop, my brother, pleasure to see you.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Shaggy, pleasure to meet you, my man.
Yes, sir. Good to meet you.
All right. Well, in my opinion, the actual duty of a president is the overseer of the chapter, to deal mainly with a lot of outside of the chapter issues, to politic for the chapter outside of it, with other chapters within the nation and other clubs within their city limits or their area, their AO that they're responsible for. So he the one who shake hands and kiss babies with, other clubs to see what's going on in the area. Again, in my opinion. So,
Now y'all go ahead. Hey,
all right.
Archbishop, take over for me for a second, brother. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh shit.
Was you done with your answer there, inquiry?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, it was
Okay.
short and sweet.
Okay. Yeah, so like we was talking about the president, duties of the president, they I think a lot of people don't realize how much time and effort that you have to put into it, into actually being a president. It's not just, I mean, the ones that's actually true to it, I'll say that. Because, there is a lot of running, a lot of talking on the phone, a lot of meetings, a lot of, moving around, traveling around, networking, like you said, politics, because you got to deal with the regionals, you got to deal with the nationals, you got national meetings, chapter meetings, state meetings, every time you turn around, there's a meeting for something, I think one of the biggest things is that, you have to be able to, if you consider this, you have to be able to put a lot of things on hold because that takes up so much of your time, and there's with the taking up so much of your time, the term they always say, you always lose something. You always give up something to the club, whether you want to or not.
If you're doing it right, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to end up giving up something. So it's like, you have some that do it because they have something to actually offer the chapter, something to contribute to make their chapter better. But then, you also have the ones that want to do it just strictly for the power, prestige, or whatever, and don't know their ass from a hole in the wall. You know what I mean? That happens too. So, but Shaggy, when you was a president before, how was you able to manage through the hypocrisy and the hoopla in order to, how at times you have to keep your club and your family, you got to keep that on two different planes and be able to work on both at the same time. What were some of the things that you did to be able to compensate for that?
Well, so I came in the lifestyle before it was cool, before when it was extremely difficult to be in motorcycle clubs or even get to the hang around process. Like, the club community was very, very, very small. Typically in an area, you would have more, maybe 5, 6, 7 clubs. In states, you literally wouldn't, especially the smaller states, you wouldn't have maybe one diamond club that run the entire state. So the thing that I did was, because of how I was brought up with club was first, and everybody likes to do the diamond thing, or the triangle thing is a job, family, club, and it's your job to everybody gets an equal part, but it's your job to make those equal parts match. It's your job to give 100% to your family, 100% to your job, 100% to the club. Well, I figured out early, especially as a president, that model does not work. It's impossible.
Correct.
It goes from literally 100% to the club. The 8 hours a day, and you, even during the 8 hours a day, you're at work, your phone's still going off, you're still answering, doing it, trying to, you better know how to multitask. And then as far as family life goes, you hope for a snow day. You know what I'm saying? Because I tell you right now, other than winter being really bad, hurricanes don't stop, brother, the club from running. Massive downpours, tornadoes, earthquakes, lava flow. That shit don't. Now snow, that stops some shit real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've seen it stop like, hey, party's canceled, man. There's 2 foot of snow out there. But there's always one guy that shows up on a motorcycle and he's like, hey, where's the party at, man? Where's everybody at? I didn't get the message. Kawhi
Hey,
could have been
fellas.
on the road for like 5-6 hours trying to get to that party because he was going to be the cool guy that showed up on his motorcycle.
Right.
Yeah,
Fellas, I just want to tell you real quick what's going on. There was a brother had an accident, and we were trying to get him squared away, so that's why I had to jump off and disappear right quick. But things are in motion, so we might be all right. We might be all right here in a little bit.
hopefully he's all right.
But yeah, but you know, they're working on it.
So what I did that every president is going to have to accept the fact, and then as you grow as a president, because when you become a president, those first things I said you need to understand, the most important thing you need to understand is this is your honeymoon run. You're new to this. This is the time you should be listening the most to your chapter. This is going to test if you have the pulse of the chapter, you start building that, and you're communicating more individually and in a group sitting with your brothers. So this is when you really need to be listening to your brothers and understanding that the only way you're going to be successful is because of them. And then as you grow, you'll find that the task in which you were elected for has a never-ending list. You start out as new. You start to get through the motions. It's more than just sitting at the head of a table going, okay, what's the treasury report? Okay, what's the old business? Okay, what's the new business? And carrying on like that. The most important thing you can do through the entire part of your being a president, which is going to take 100% of your home time away, is learning the pulse of your chapter, learning how your chapter speaks, learning what they think, because you have to be able to make decisions sometimes at a whim. And you have to be able to stand before your brother and say, yes, I made the decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. I stand by it. This is how I felt you all would think. This is how it is. And
Right on.
9 times out of 10, your chapter is going to fall. But when you start taking that presidency and you're learning your first term, you are nowhere near the predecessor. Unless he was just a straight piece of shit. But you're new.
Hey, I'll tell you what, if we can. So first of all, I wanted to say there. So on this subject, we have somebody who has a little something to say about this subject. Who definitely adds to this conversation. We are welcomed by the man, the myth, the legend. No, wait, we can't say that twice. I said that Shaggy, you were the man, the myth, the legend. Black Dragon is simply Black Dragon, doggone a man who's been the national president of the mighty doggone Black Sabbath Nation and did so in a fantastic fashion. We still hear about it all the time. Might be doing it again. Ain't gonna go. Anyway, a lot of folks dig you, brother. Thank you for joining us here on the Big BoneYard. Black Dragon, Piker TV.
Well,
What's going
I
on, my
appreciate
man?
you guys having me on. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
First of all, I'd like to say honor and respect. It is a great honor to be on here with all of you big brothers, man, holding it down from the dominant nations. And I'm humbled and just honored to be in your presence. And, thank you for even having me. When it comes down to being a president, and I want to thank you also, Big Bone, for having me on here, just getting him here quickly before my show. And I just want to thank you for everything you and Shaggy have done to help my show. So, I'm always here for you. But when I wrote a book called President's Bible, and this book is what I learned in my journey as a national president, starting a motorcycle club, not starting the club itself, but spreading it across the nation. And having to do so, I ran into every kind of dominant club, COC, everyone you can imagine as we spread our chapter from coast to coast, and we've been through it all. And I found that being a president and being a leader of a motorcycle club is about someone who knows how to draw inspiration from others. You have to be able to inspire other people to move forward, to do things you could never do. We have some people that are good at one thing and some people that are good at another. The father of the Black Sabbath Nation, Pep, often taught us, he said, take stock of the people that you have around you, find out what it is that they can do, and then empower them to move forward. See, being a Genghis Khan, being someone who is great at battle or great at conquering territories, the national vice president that helped me build these chapters was far more intelligent and far more experienced than I was. He happened to be a Master Chief E9 submarine sailor who was in charge of an entire submarine at like 28 years old, 30 years old. So his level of ability to understand logistics and all that sort of thing was way greater than mine. And I recruited him. I went after this guy because he had been in the club. He was a president when I was a prospect, and he had left the club. And I went after this guy for almost a year to get him back to help build me up, to shore me up. So being a president, looking around and realize I might be a good Genghis Khan. I might be able to destroy cities and take over territories. But if you think of the example of ISIS, how they took over all that territory in the Middle East, but the idea is now that you've taken over the territory, are you a good administrator? You got to be able to deliver the mail. You got to be able to have sewage running. You got to be able to put lights up. So taking over the world and managing and running the world are two different things. Being someone who is a great go-getter might not mean you're a great administrator. It might not mean that you can pay the bills and bring the lights and these sorts of things. So presidents have to understand, what am I good at? And then what are other people good at? And make those people shine in what they do. So you guys that are Marines, you few that work for us Navy.
Wild Man is watching. I know Wild Man is watching. He's going to something to say about that.
you guys understand the JJ did tie buckle concept. And the JJ did tie buckle is an acronym for the 14 principles of leadership that the Marine Corps taught to naval personnel. And so justice, judgment, dependability, initiative, decisiveness, tact, integrity, enthusiasm, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and endurance. And these are the principles by which I led by. Justice, judgment, dependability, initiative, decisiveness, tact, integrity, enthusiasm, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and endurance. And if you take those things and you build upon those things as you are leading as a president, you're going to create a hell of a lot of effing enemies, because they're not going to like the fact that you love the MC enough to put the MC over self.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head. My father used to say all the time, if you ain't pissing somebody off, you're not doing it right. Because there's no way to be a proper chapter president, state president, national president. You can't do it and be everybody's best buddy, because you have to move in what is the best interest of your organization. And if you're not doing that, then yeah, you might have a ton of friends, but your club is going to suffer for it.
If you're a president of an MC, Bone, you ain't going to have no friends. You're going to lose every friend you ever had. Your best friend's going to be pissed off when you make a decision for the betterment of the MC that doesn't include the betterment of him. So now he's pissed off. The people that want to move you out of office, they're pissed off. Your family's pissed off because you're spending too much time with the club. The elders are pissed off because you're making decisions and you're not on your knees to the elders every 10 seconds. Everybody's pissed off and nobody likes you. And that's why I say the MC is for them. When I become president,
one thing. Bragging, miss one thing. They don't like you. They're pissed off at you. But the minute something happens, they're right to you, and they want you to handle it right now.
Oh yeah. So
then all of a sudden they love you.
Look,
for that brief moment.
Y'all, let me throw this out real quick, because what I've heard from almost everybody here, and we say it amongst us, and we say, know your bros. Meaning, actually, Archbishop, you kind of touched on this a little earlier, and it's like understanding the strengths of everybody in your club. And the way I used to always look at it is, I want to know my bros. I wanted to play up to their strengths and do as much as I could to minimize or isolate if they had a shortcoming or a weakness or something like that, well, hey, what if anything that we need to do that weakness is not something that's going to affect us, should even affect him, right? But it goes back to knowing who are your people and encouraging and motivating them and encouraging to get the best result out of them for the benefit of the whole body, you know. And it sounds all like, you know, all the Zen Buddhist shit, but in real life, that's one of the biggest things that a chapter president does is how do you make us great? If you
Well,
can,
so you touched on something right there that I like to talk about the new president, and
yeah,
and the reason why I like to use him as the example is because that's a make or break term. Your very first term is your make or break term because every brother's watching you, right? But the most important thing he can do right there to get that pulse of the chapter is the know your bro mentality. The only way you're going to get that is spend that quality time with each member, spend that quality time with all the members as a whole together. You know, you need to know how your guys are going to think individually, and then you need to know how they're going to think when they're together. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't know how many times I've come to, when I was a new president, I'd come sit at the table and go, all right, I know how this vote's going to go. I got this shit down. You sit down because I talked to each brother individually. And each brother told you what they thought individually. And it took me about 3 years being the president before I realized there's this little secret squirrel meeting that these some bitches have when you ain't around of how they think as a whole and how they think collectively.
and it don't have nothing to do with you. You're never in that secret squirrel
That's
meeting.
right. That's right. That's right. Because that's part of being the president. That's part of being the hated guy. That's part of the guy that's pissed everybody off. Well, we'll wait till church till we hear him tell us his opinion.
Right.
We know he's come to us individually to ask us what we think. So while we're all sitting here, let's get on the same page. What do we think?
Uh-huh.
You know,
But
I've literally seen this shit happen.
I'll say this about the new president, and I tell everybody this, especially when you're dealing on a national level and they want to come down on someone. I always say, you know, the most powerful person in a motorcycle club nation is a brand new chapter president, especially during his honeymoon period, because his chapter loves him. They voted him in, and they're very protective of him. So you want to rile up a chapter, screw with that brand new president. Listen, guys, I love you. Got to get to my show. Honor and respect to all of you big brothers. Appreciate you having me, Bone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If we get a minute, we're gonna come over and holler at you, man. But thank you for coming on. Hey, everybody, right. Black Dragon, he's going to Black Dragon Biker TV. The round table, that's the thing that we still do. So please, if you have an opportunity, when you leave us, go over there, check him out. Anyway, love you, brother. Good looking.
Respect.
And actually, while we're here, Dagon, Inquire. I want to ask you because this is a man who has a great. I'm talking about you, Inquire. I'm putting your business in the street. This is a dude who has a really great handle on MC jobs and positions and so forth, like what they're actually supposed to do. We've had these conversations before, but let's talk about a VP, a vice president. What would you say a vice president's function is? Like, what is his job?
All right. I appreciate you saying that, man. I mean, yes, I have had an opportunity to sit in some seats from a previous club I was in and everything, but coming on this side and just trying to see how everything goes is a little different. But the VP seat, in my opinion, of course, they're the man that runs the inside of the chapter. You know what I'm saying? The things that go on in the chapter, making sure everything is done, even when you have events and things going on. They handle a lot of things when the president is not around or can't be present. He deals with a lot of things on the set, support clubs, making sure things are getting taken care of like they need to, from the business aspect to the planning of events that are going on to make sure everybody's doing their job. They make a lot of decisions in the club internally from the inside, from what I've seen, So
I see what you mean. So, actually, Archbishop, if this is the function of a vice president, And he's sort of, like some folks have said, oh, vice president, he just fills in when the president's not around. But then you got other folks who see it very differently. Like, what's your take on that? And how important is a vice president? Like, can a vice president just fuck up a whole chapter? Is that a thing? Or can a vice president raise a chapter, make it better?
The vice president can totally screw up a chapter. Sure he can. Because you gotta, you think about it like this. Your vice president deals with the day-to-day operations of the club. Okay. He the one that gets the phone calls with the complaining and the nagging and all that. So he knows everything that's going on. Okay. His job is to be that buffer to the president.
Right.
So the president ain't bombarded with all the stuff dealing with the day-to-day stuff. He can deal with the politics and the outside stuff and all that. And that VP is that's who everybody's going to come to talk about every little thing that they got going on with them, all the gripes and complaints, or whatever that they're going to talk about. Now, the key thing to a VP is that person has to not. You don't want somebody that's always going to agree with you. You're going to want that yin and yang in that relationship. When I had my VP, me and him we had the same mindset,
right?
But we did not agree on everything, Yeah. So when I talked to him about something, if it was righteous, he gonna rock with it. If it wasn't, he gonna say, hey, I'm digging what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but what if we add this to it, or did you think about it on this end? You know what I mean? He's gonna be that one that's gonna feed you what you may be overlooking.
Well, did you listen to him though? I mean, because that's the thing. You're the number one. He's number two. I've seen circumstances. I've seen both where number one and number two, they disagreed about everything under the sun, and a lot of stuff couldn't get done well because of all of that. But then I've also seen where the number one to the other extreme. Here I go with the devil's advocate shit. But to the other extreme where whatever the president said, man, that was okay, and he was with it. And I've seen where the VP, or as you were, where the VP would say, hey, boss, it ought to be this way. So, and these guys are like that. And what I noticed when that kind of stuff happens is that sometimes the chapters get lost in the sauce because you got two guys, the number one and number two, who are on the same page about every single thing, good, bad, or indifferent. There's no little angel on the shoulder going, hey, wait a minute, pump your brakes. That's not the best move. Have you considered this thing, that thing, the other thing? But So my question is, in those circumstances where your number two is telling you stuff, did you listen or did you just blow it off and do what the fuck you wanted to do?
No, I listened to him. I mean, I value his opinion. That's the reason why I made him my VP. You know what I mean? If you're not going to listen to him, or you want somebody that's just going to sit there and agree with everything that you're saying, you already fucking up right there. You want somebody that's going to be able to give you that objective criticism. Okay. Right, wrong, or indifferent. He's going to be that one that's going to give you that. Right. Now, if anything ever happens to you, or he has to fill in for you, you also want to make sure that he can go into a situation and handle it in the same manner that you would handle it. You know what I mean? So you have to make sure that, that y'all have somewhat of camaraderie, you know what I mean, as in mental wise, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I know if I send him over here, he's going to be able to take care of this. Or, you know what I mean? Because you want to trust your VP to be able to do that, because eventually he may end up being the boss one day.
Right.
So, a lot of them say, well, oh, I bought him in, I'm going to put him up under my wing and teach him this. That's not what you're doing. And you don't want somebody like that. I mean, of course, stuff that you do and he's around you and he's watching you do it, he's going to pick it up anyway. You know what I mean? You don't want a clone. Just like you don't want flunkies in your chapter. You want people to follow you because what you're doing is right. The stuff that you're doing is on the square. It's supposed to be done for the benefit of the chapter. That's what you want. You don't want people just following you and just agreeing with you simply because you the president or you my friend or whatever. I don't need you for that. I need you to be on my side because I'm right. And what I'm doing for the benefit of this club. I'm doing it for the righteousness of this club. So I didn't, anybody that came into the club, nobody forced you to be here. Nobody forced you to be here. Nobody came with a recruitment thing like Uncle Sam and said, we want you in this club. You came because you wanted to be here. You
Hey,
know,
wait a
and
minute.
one,
Now, I actually did. I saw the thing. I saw that poster, man. No, I'm just playing. Hey,
no,
I was gonna say though, but I see where you're going with that. Here's something weird. I was gonna ask you about Inquire, or actually, Inquire or Shaggy. I don't know. Have y'all ever seen, or anybody, have y'all ever seen this? Where I know on our side of the fence, a lot of times, the president, we new, old, whichever, he has the option to choose his cabinet. But I saw something different years ago, and it was a thing that was going on with some of the 99 clubs and so forth. And what they were doing was they had an election, and they would elect a chapter president, but then they would also elect a vice president. And a lot of times, the guy that got the vice president, who got, they elected as vice president, was the guy who was wanting to be the president in the first place. But he didn't win the presidency, so they made him the vice president. This is just a me thing, but I always thought, man, that's like, you're almost gonna create some problems just by doing that, because a lot of times these guys are on opposite ends of the spectrum. But had y'all heard about anything like that?
So I'll start off with this, and I'll say every officer position should be a brother should be nominated. He should accept the nomination or decline it. If he accepts it, discussion had or whatever, and then a vote had. And a vote had not by secret ballot, but by everybody. My
Like hands
former
in the
club
air.
and the club I'm in now, every position is voted on, and that's how you keep it democratic, man. Because I've heard of the same thing where the president's nominated and elected and all that shit like that, and he puts his own cabinet in there. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know how them clubs function, and here's why. First off, I'll say get the outfit out here too. Most elections in clubs are about the popularity, not about the right reasons. Let's just throw that out there. It's a fact of matter. It's human nature. It takes a couple elections, especially for new guys, to figure out, wait a minute, process is fucked up here. We need to do this right. So it doesn't always work that way, but it does. Secondly, if you get a president who's being elected because his electoral winnings are going to be the majority because he's already discussed with his inner circle of the chapter of people, because that number is going to outnumber the total number of the club. He's going to get the majority votes. He's like, I'll make you my vice president. I'll make you this. I'll make you that. Then all of a sudden you've got a good old boy system in place, and it's not democratic. It's not a cohesive or morale lifting or motivating or anything for the chapter, especially with the guys that are going to vote no against it because they already see the writing on the wall. It's going to be a miserable year or 2 years, however long the process is. That is probably the dumbest goddamn thing I ever heard. You want people put in those positions by the body, by your brothers. You don't want one guy saying, well, you should do this, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. The chapter or the brotherhood should put in who they want to lead them, because the brotherhood is the ones paying attention. The brothers are paying attention to who the guys that stand out, that are going to put themselves before their job, before their family, before themselves, because they already do that to serve the club.
Well, the problem with votes, though, is that what the elections votes is always the same thing. It ultimately can become a damn popularity contest, no matter which job you're talking about.
Well, that process is already there.
Yeah, but I see where you're going with that. Inquire, like, have you had any experience with that one way or the other?
Well, I kind of look at it what Shaggy was saying. I can understand where you're coming from with that and everything, but I can almost look at it saying as the government, our own government in this country, right?
Yeah.
So the president does that. Running president, he chooses his vice president to run with him on his ticket. Okay.
And how many vice presidents of the United States ever have you heard just did something so out? I mean, just out there, like shined. Not a goddamn one of them.
Not one. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Damn.
It's in the same sense that president chooses his VP to run with him on his ticket, and the country itself is voting for that ticket. So he already got his man in place that he know he gonna work well with and do his thing. So from the aspect of a club, letting the president choose his cabinet, it is a union thing on that. You know what I'm saying? Because yes, he's going to pick those who is going to be in his corner. You know, agree with everything he says and things of that nature. But if he want to do it right, if he wants to do it right and be the right leader, he's going to choose the ones that's going to help him grow as a president and help the chapter grow itself. You know what I'm saying? Because I would love that feedback if it was me. I don't need nobody. I want hell. My wife don't even agree with everything I do, but we come together and we figure out how to make this thing work in our household. So in a chapter, you bring the ones that's going to call you on your bullshit. You're gonna be able to call them on their bullshit and do this thing the right way. And I hate to see that happen, man. When I see it like that, and they pick they bros or they friends that they cool with, and they put them on these boards or in these positions, and then they just agree with all the dumb shit that happens, because it'd be a lot of dumb shit that happens, right? It makes no sense. No one, nobody to call them out on their bullshit or anything of that nature. That's just
Right.
wrong, you know. But the whole thing of voting also on these different positions, it does give the body a chance to pick the people that they want. But then again, you also come down like too. There's a popularity thing when it comes to that too. You know,
Okay.
I want somebody. I want this guy to sit as my VP, or I want this guy to be the one that handles my money. If anything, that's what you vote on. I vote on the goddamn treasurer of the goddamn chapter and make sure that that person that's handling my money is in good standings of handling my money.
Right.
Personally handling my money, because if your personal financials are not right, how you taking care of my financials of this chapter?
Well, wait a minute, Inquire. Just because his car got repossessed and he has 17 default payments to child support, and he owes me $23.79 from the other night, that don't mean that he's not going to be a good treasurer, does it? I mean, I don't know.
Well, no, his bike is up and running. He's in accordance with the bylaws. His bike is up and running. No, none says in the bylaws you got to pay your bills.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to pay the man that's handling your money, though. You know what I'm saying? Hey, they got to pay to take care of my money, man. That's it. That's a lot of things that can get bros in trouble with dealing with this. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, I agree. I like the fact that the president can choose, but if he's gonna do that, choose the people that's gonna come in and do the job and hold them accountable for that job.
Right.
Exactly.
Hey,
So you're not my friend. I need you to do what you need to do.
There's one thing that I used to say as a president at every election. I would put this out, and every good leader should. First, I'd always say that this is not a popularity contest. If there's a brother sitting around this table that can not, I never use the term do better than I was doing or do better than whatever other officer was doing, but who wants to put forth the effort to move the club forward and into the future and motivate and lift and make the chapter a better and more cohesive unit, man, by all means, throw your name in that. I would tell them I don't want it at all to be a popularity contest. Like every church, you go down and that gavel swings, we ain't brothers no more. Business is business. Fuck your feelings. Leave them up there around the bar. We'll get back to that after the meeting's adjourned. We come down here to handle the business of the day, right? To handle what's best for the club, to take care of the club. And the elections is the most important process. So I had good officers around me. I had a good vice president, I had a good secretary, treasurer, and they were all voted by the body because they went down there because they all knew each other. They all knew each other's strengths by then. And we always, with the communication and stuff like that, and the brothers, the politics would kind of stay out of it because they already knew their brothers. And so you want the best of the people being in there, and by a singular president pointing out who he thinks the best of the best is, well, that's who he thinks the best of the best is. But you got 10, 15 other guys sitting around the table going, that's not exactly the best of the best, because I think that guy right there, who usually sits in the corner, pretty quiet, pays attention, looks at everything, he'd be a great enforcer because why? He pays attention to everything, you don't top of shit quick. So there's all kinds of different things, but a good president's going to go down there and set the rules out and then enforce them rules.
Okay. Well, look, You actually gave us an excellent segue on the thing, which was because you mentioned the sergeant arms. So two things real quick. Moose 1959 says, I was under the impression that the P was like your CEO and your VP was left to handle things directly with your chapter as an extension of the president. Is that a good synopsis? Like, what do y'all think?
I kind of want to jump in here because about the VP thing. So your vice president is basically and should be considered in his role being able to do and handle everything the president can do. Period.
Right.
Point blank. He if that president dies or he gets kicked out of the club or whatever, you don't hold another election. That vice president, his job is to know every officer role, frontwards, backwards, sideways, all the duties, responsibilities, and be able to manage all those officers while the president's doing his thing. And then when the president's away, be able to step in because he knows those roles to handle what the president does. Because there's times the vice president can also handle external roles. So he needs to know everything. The other thing too is the other. Absolutely. You like in the military, we train the guys to replace us. So when that first fire team goes in there and everybody's killed because we like to run at beaches from the water and we can see all the gun emplacements, that next fire team that steps in, they're going to be able to advance forward and on and on.
Right on.
The other thing with the vice president is, everybody likes to use the term yin and yang, and so do I. But in all honesty, the vice president is the president's direct person to talk with about every single incident before he goes to the nation or he goes to the chapter. He is that direct person that he bounces ideas off. He's that direct person that they work off each other in order to lead together, because the president isn't the end all be all. And if the guys who are being presidents think they're the end all be all, they're not in a democracy, they're in a dictatorship. And I'm here to tell you, if a president doesn't use his vice president for what he should be used for, and the vice president doesn't force the president to be used for what he was elected to do, then either the vice president needs to go or grow a pair, or the president needs to be put in check because apparently his head got a little too big by putting that pin and that tag on his chest.
Right on. It happens. So, Archbishop, why do you hate Sergeant? No, I'm just playing. No, for real, Sergeant. All right, I need to stop, harassing people. No, but for real, man. When it comes to a sergeant at arms, Shaq kind of brought it up a second ago. A sergeant at arms. First question: what's his job?
Sergeant at arms has multiple jobs. He deals with the security of the president, the VP, and the chapter. He He's the how do you call it? The procurer of the bylaws. He is to know those bylaws front and back. He is to be able to. He is the only one in that chapter that can actually check the VP and the president. He can get at their ass, fine them, whatever, based on if they doing something they shouldn't be doing. The sergeant at arms holds a very important role. And it's okay. So like when you're out, he has to make sure that the president is covered, or he has a detail for that. The VP has to be covered, has a detail for that. He's also watching. He's watching everything that's going on. He's making sure that, that everybody that came leaves together. Dealing with the chapter stuff, he makes, he has to make sure that he knows those bylaws. He has to be, and I keep saying the bylaws because the bylaws is like one of the most important things that this sergeant at arms has to know, because if he knows the bylaws, then he's going to keep everybody else functioning according to the bylaws. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't even read the bylaws until they get in trouble. Let's just keep it real.
Yeah,
that's don't touch them bylaws.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute though, because look, Inquirer just told me like 3 minutes ago that the sergeant at arms job was on occasion about once a month or every other month was to punch a member in the face to let them know who the boss was. He told me that, and I figured that's what a SA does.
Really?
I did that in sergeant at arms.
How we gonna take this, Big Bone?
I don't know. I mean, I thought I might have heard it wrong. I might have heard it
Yeah,
wrong.
you might have misinterpreted them words, I would say.
I might have misinterpreted from an enforcement standpoint. I guess Archbishop was saying that the SA, he's the dude who can check the president and the VP if need be because he knows the bylaws. How does
Absolutely.
that like? What's your take on that?
I mean,
Inquire. I'm sorry.
you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. He's the one who he said he can check them, and he should check them. He's the one who keeps their checks and balances in check when dealing with the chapter in these laws and making sure that their punishments are fitting the line of what they should be and all that, that kind of thing, and making sure they're following the rules like they should be. So yeah, you're right. But again, a lot of times that's one of those positions that are appointed by the president, and not necessarily the right person is always put in that position.
Okay.
I mean, they trust who they trust to protect them, but it ain't just about them. It's about the chapter and what needs to be done and how things should flow. For instance, like y'all tell me, what do you think the sergeant at arms should be well versed and the Robert rules of
Order
with dealing with meetings?
Brother, all right, allow me. I'll tell you, I honestly about that one. Y'all know I laugh, joke, and giggle and all that kind of stuff. But I believe that a sergeant at arms is absolutely more so than any other person in the chapter, or at least in church. The sergeant at arms needs to be very familiar with Robert's rules of order. He needs to be an expert, not just I'm familiar with them. I read them once or twice. He needs to be an expert in the damn bylaws. Like, he don't need to go, hold on, wait a minute. I think that was on page 7. No, he needs to know off the top of his dome so that he can address, correct immediately if something calls for it. But when I say that, much like Archbishop said, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about a president, a VP, or whomever. Anybody within his realm of responsibility, he needs to be able to do his job as it pertains to them. Then there's those other times when, let's say, that chapter gets out in the world, so his area of concern just got bigger. What if your sergeant at arms is given by the way, we're going to such and such, so and so is going to be there. We need you to be on top of that too, and to notice all of this. There's guys who's not from your chapter, they're from another chapter. Let's say they don't have the same understanding, the same discipline. Maybe they don't embrace their bylaws the same way that you do, or that your chapter does. Guess what? Somebody's got to do their job. And if you're the SA, do your job. Do your job. And your job is to, number one, become an expert at them bylaws. More so, hey, I've known some sergeant at arms who knew the bylaws frontwards and forwards, up one side, down the other, better than anybody in the building, including the president, the VP, and a whole bunch of other so-and-sos, right? But that's the job. Y'all ever seen, well, let me ask you, Shaggy, have you ever seen where you had a sergeant at arms from a chapter, any chapter, and in his head, his whole job was to be the hitman for the president or maybe the VP? Didn't know jack about the bylaws. In my day, I've seen it a time or two, and it's always been curious to me. But is that something that happens a lot, or have you ever seen it at all?
No, I think new guys get the misconception of, the enforcer or the sergeant at arms. He's the guy that is going around his territory, his club's territory, and he's the guy that's going out there smacking people around, this, that, and the other. I think there's always that mystery or misconception, or that, oh my God, here comes the enforcer. He's here to, fuck shit up, and he's going to take all our colors, and then when he's done, then the rest of the chapter is going to come in and rape, pillage, and rob us and take our wallets. Well, that myth is always quickly broken within like the first 5 minutes you talk to an enforcer or a sergeant at arms, or it should be.
Right.
Some of the things you guys are saying, though, Matt, some of it kind of sounds foreign to me in the aspect of should a sergeant at arms know Robert's rules and should they be followed? I've always said this about Robert's rules in motorcycle clubs. There's only about a quarter of Robert's rules that we actually follow, and that
Yeah,
has to
that's
do with
true
kind
too.
of structure in a sense. And everybody that ever gets elected into an officer position, usually before that happens, I mean, in most clubs they got to be in the club a year before they can even get to that point. So they've set a couple meetings prior to, so they should in fact know it. It didn't matter what position they're holding. I don't think a sergeant at arms should necessarily have to worry about the Roberts Rules portion of it because their job is just to keep the order during the meeting. It's the president's position to keep that um, um, uh, structure going forward. Now, some of the things you said a few minutes ago, I think it was Archbishop that was saying, that you know he's or maybe it was you, Big Boner, saying that he should be able to um, understand those Robert's rules and in order to be able to facilitate conversation, shit like that. That's the secretary's job.
Okay.
But with the sergeant at arms or the enforcer, his job, 100% without a shadow of a doubt, is one, not be a drunk or a drug addict.
Okay.
Think of it this way, like we talk about military. You have ADCON, OPCON. Your president is ADCON or administrative. Your sergeant at arms enforcer is OPCON. He's the general on operations. He's a general on deck, right? He's in the front lines giving direction. He is also probably and should be the most eloquent speaker in the club besides the president, because 9 times out of 10 his job is to be the mediator, mainly between brothers, mainly between chapters, mainly between shit that makes it all the way to national, right?
Right.
And then there's times where he's the one that introduces some young bloods to what we used to call Connex box counseling. I will say this, some of the best sergeant arms I've ever had, some of the best sergeant arms that I learned from, and really still preach and practice a lot of what they taught me back in the day, weren't very big guys. They were tough as nails, and there's a couple of them I don't think I ever seen fight before, but I've seen some of the big guys. They were good. It's like the whole bouncers at the strip club. What do bouncers talk about? Bouncing.
Right.
A sergeant at arms has a much bigger vocabulary, or an enforcer has a much bigger vocabulary, and they really don't want to talk about having to discipline somebody or having to be that mediator, because why? Just like the president, they better know the bylaws inside and out. They better be able to explain and interpret them properly to his chapter. And when he had better have the fortitude, and I mean, you have to have some pretty thick cojones to stand up to the president sometimes and say, "Hey, brother, I love you, but you better shut the fuck up because you just crossed the line. And if you don't, I'm the only one in this chapter that can pull your patch off your back."
Right. I'll tell you, when you talked about the Connex box counseling, man, I get that. I dig that because in the Marine Corps we had the Connex box. Well, depending if you were on a ship, that Connex box counseling, it came up a time or two. But in the MC it does too. Like the Marine Corps we call it Potter's Field. That's what. Guess what? There was one guy who, if he had to whoop that ass, it was usually let's take a walk. I ain't trying to embarrass you, but I am getting ready to whoop that ass for you. And when we done, we're gonna go back and have a beer. And then, like you're 12 years old and sit in that corner, you think about what you did after this ass whooping you getting ready to get. And but the thing is, I've always felt like this though, is that the best SAs usually avoid all of that, because if you're doing your job on the front end, then there's a lot less visits to the Connex box on the back end because you did it way early. You caught it when that thing was turning into a thing. You caught that early. You got folks conditioned to know, damn, that SA is on his job. I'm not going to be able to come with some such bullshit because I got to deal with that motherfucker later, But Bishop, so as it relates to Sergeant Arms, how do you know You got a really good one? How do you know you got a really bad one?
Performance.
Okay.
It's performance alone. I mean,
What if
you're
it's day
gonna
one though?
right. I mean, well, I ain't gonna say day one. You're
Okay.
gonna put, either you're gonna put somebody in place or somebody get elected in that position. Okay.
Right.
So, and you hope that when they took that position that they understood exactly what all entails in that position.
Right.
Now, time will tell whether they're a good sergeant at arms or not. See, the only good thing about an appointment as opposed to an elected one is that if he's not doing his job, you can pull his ass out of there and put somebody else in it. But, they should know the key. I mean, if you're going to appoint somebody, just like they were saying earlier, it can't just be your buddy who that's just going to watch your butt.
Right.
You need to put somebody on there that has the balls to take you're gonna hold us all down when we out here. You're gonna hold us all accountable, dealing with the club, dealing with the meetings, everything. He has to have that fortitude. He has to have that presence of, not only do I have the respect of the chapter, but I got that, people just, I don't know how to really explain it. Some people have it, some people don't.
Right.
That presence,
Right.
So when you first look at them, you automatically think like, yeah, fuck it. I mean,
Yeah, right.
I don't even want to deal.
You're like, damn, did I eat my Wheaties today? Do I want to deal with this problem?
Yeah,
Right.
but they but like I said, and just like Shaggy was saying earlier, everybody has their own key functions, and if everybody is firing off at the same time, doing what they're supposed to do the right way, the chapter will run great. Like, I give you an example. This is going back to the president's thing.
Yeah.
And I was a VP, and me and my president.
You was everything, actually.
Yeah, I bounced around.
Yeah, right.
Me and my president, we had the same intellect and goals, but we didn't always agree on everything, which was a good thing for me because he didn't want nobody to agree with, And one of the things that we did, and I told him, we may disagree for 30 days. We may argue and fuss on this phone for 30 days, but when we walk into this chapter, we're going to be united.
Goddamn right. Exactly
a lot of
right.
things
United.
A lot of things that we dealt with when you're going back and forth, especially when you're dealing with stuff that's for the benefit of the chapter, it's not always going to be a one-sided decision. That's where that VP is important, because he's going to be throwing you ideas like you got your mind already set up. He's on this end and he's throwing this at you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're not going to agree all the time. You know what I mean? You may get off the phone and be like, "Oh man, help me in the day," and then you're gonna pick up the phone a couple hours later. You're gonna have this conversation again, because y'all have to have. Because you're not fighting each other. Y'all are debating for a common goal, and the common goal is this chapter. So like I said, me and him would fuss at each other all the time. You know what I mean? Me and him fuss to each other to this day. I call him on the phone and fuss with his ass just on purpose. But on that 31st day when we walked into that chapter meeting, we were one body, one mind, one sound. What he put out, I vouch for it. You know what I mean? Because this is what we came together with. You know what I mean? And the body was more receptive of that, because a lot of things that happen with that switch between that president and VP is if you have that VP who doesn't necessarily agree with the president, and then he takes his frustration to the body on them little secret conversations and shit like that. That's what starts that division. That's what, and then you get the body sitting here, in a little peanut gallery forms, and maybe like, oh man, I talked to such and such man, and he don't like what's going on with, the boss doing this, boss doing that. You know what I mean? That never should go. It never should go to the body. That's why you two have that job. You two have to be able to talk to each other. You have to be able to work together. Difference, undifference. I mean, I can agree with you, disagree with you, whatever, but we are a team here. You know, if you show dysfunction here in 1 and 2, don't matter what the 3 does. If your
Right.
1 and 2 is sitting there arguing and you see distinction, and all you got to do is watch it, because some people sit there and actually look for weaknesses. Once you see that, the chapter is done. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get nowhere with that. You know what I mean? So that 1 and 2 gotta have that special relation. Like I said, they don't gotta be best buddies,
Right.
but they gotta both have the same um the same unifying factors together. Like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do this for the benefit of this chapter. Our relationship is our relationship. It doesn't go no further than us. You know what I mean? The body has no reason to know anything about what we dealing with. You know what I mean? This is our thing. You
Okay.
know,
So Archbishop, here's something to your point, man. And as you're going through this, it reminds me of something that um, uh, we did quite at every meeting in my former club, and I've seen other clubs and heard of other clubs doing is you should always have your officer meeting prior to the meeting. And if an officer meeting takes all day because you guys are trying to find common ground to present something to your body, I would literally tell my officers, look, when the meeting starts, we are unified, period, or we will sit down here until we find common ground. Because these guys ain't looking to sit down here for hours and hours on end and listen to us squabble, and we're supposed to be kind of selling them a bill of goods in the sense that that bill of goods we're trying to send to them is what's best for the club and best for the chapter, right?
mm-hmm.
If we come on unified, they're not even going to listen to what we're trying to sell them because they're like, well, hell, let them get done, pissing and moaning at each other. And if a chapter ever sees their officer, the core of their officers arguing and motherfucking each other or tell them how wrong the other one is, they're not listening to what the important message is. And so, chapters should have officer meetings and nations should have officer meetings way before they get in front of their body, because if they're not squared away and got their shit squared away, it goes back to how quickly they can fuck up a club.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I gotta agree on that. I gotta that.
So go ahead.
Point on that, man. For real, they have to come together. And being in a position of having officers, like, you got to have that meeting before the meeting.
Yeah.
And that's for everything, man. Got to have that meeting before the meeting, because I've seen it a lot myself, that you get in there and it's just a bunch of bullshit and talking, and you in a meeting that probably should last maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and that bitch going on for 4 or 5 hours, and I'm just like, why the fuck?
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours.
Been in some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, matter of fact, so me and Archbishop, in our COC, I kid you not, the board meeting, 15 minutes, if that, right? And something like that. I'm thinking
No, it was a little long than that. It was a little long than that. It was a little long than that.
It wasn't too, but it wasn't like long and dragged out.
It was quick. I mean, it was quick. It was quick. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't church at Southern Baptist. It wasn't 4 hours long. It was
right.
It was cheap.
But and I'll tell you, the benefit of that is, man, when I tell you, and I even made a joke in church day in the COC that I'm like, man, I'm like, this might be the smoothest, easiest, quickest damn COC meeting in North American history. But the thing is that we've gotten to a point to where we can get right to it. We can cut right through it. If somebody's got an issue, they're definitely going to say, I got an issue or a concern. If not, it's like, boom, boom, boom. What you got? Boom, boom, boom. Keep it moving. Let's go eat some food now and drink some drinks and things like that. And it's real funny. And Shaggy, I know you see it. Sometimes with the COC, things move smooth and easy, but then you go back to your chapter to say, hey, here's what happened, and all hell breaks loose, and you do that for 6 hours. You're like, what the hell just happened right now? But no, I think that what you were saying, Inquirer, man, that's nothing but the gospel. Quick question for all of us here, because I know that a part of what we were trying to do is initially identify who are these folks, the number one, the number two, even the number three. Who are they? What are they supposed to look like? This, that, another thing. But the subject that a lot of folks is wondering is, well, what do those guys have to do to build good, solid chapters. So, having said that, taking the president's role, what's the best thing? Like, if you come up with a one or two things that a president can do to benefit his chapter, to make his chapter the best that it can be, what the hell is that? Because it's a lot of stuff, right? But what's a couple of good things? Shaggy, what do you think? You ate yesterday. Why are you eating again? You ate yesterday.
I'm always eating, especially when I'm working on my motorcycle.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna tell you this right now: the very best thing a president can do to strengthen his chapter, unify his chapter, and absolutely make his chapter the shining example throughout his nation of how things are to be done, and that chapter to be looked upon as one of the best chapters or the best chapter in the nation. And it all falls on his shoulders, and it all revolves around that personal time he spent with every single member and the group as a whole.
Okay.
Having that pulse of the chapter, knowing how your brothers think, knowing how they're going to react, knowing how they're going to react individually and how they're going to react as a group, makes it so much easier to get shit accomplished. Makes it so much easier to get the brothers to listen to you. Makes it so much easier to get the club's mission accomplished. And it makes everything, especially meetings and shit like that, and decision making, so much easier to where you can get out of the business part of it
Well, hang on
and
one
get
second.
back to the fun and brotherhood part of it.
Hey, Fat Boy, I don't know if you meant to do this on purpose, but thank you for calling the Big BoneYard. You got.
I thought he called me fat boy. I was like, man, I just ate one fucking cookie.
No, we got a good brother by the name of Fat Boy on the line. This is Big Bone 1%er. You got Archbishop 1%er. You got Shaggy 1%er and motherfucking Inquire 1%er, joined by Fat Boy 1%er from the Mighty Outcast Nation in South Florida chapter. Brother, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I was still on front of evil. Glad to hear from all you guys. That's what's up. You guys are doing some educational thing. But the question you asked, to answer your question, how does a good president or VP control the chapter? First of all, a president is elected by the body. For the force of the body being elected by, for the force of the president to be elected by a body, you have to listen to what the body wants. The reason why the president is on that seat, what the body wants is what the president is going to control. That's why everything goes through him and knows how to maneuver it to make it happen. I want to just say something earlier. A VP and a president is always agree to disagree. If you got two of the same, you agree with everything your president saying, the chapter's not going to move no forward because whoever was there, he could run it by himself. If you don't have one that's opposite to know that what's wrong, what's right. Hey, every move your president made is a good move because he was elected by the body, right?
Right.
Now, if the question is it right for the chapter or is it right for the nation? Now, he's elected president, he deals with the nation. Once he deals with that nation, and therefore automatically, that president has to be able to control the decision that he gets upon, that the body made, that he helped to make. He don't make the decisions himself, but the body has to be the one that agreed with the decision that was set forth in front of the table. You're right about what you said earlier, Archbishop. There's a meeting before the meeting. It should be in every chapter. When it goes that way, the chapter runs way smoother. You get a whole lot of things done, and you govern your area the best way to see it fit. You know what I mean?
No, facts. Big facts.
He made a good point about something too. He made a real good point about something too. A president is only as powerful as his chapter allows him to be. He's not the end all be all. He's absolutely right. The body is what runs the chapter. The president just speaks to it.
Okay, right on.
He actually put the smoothing to the tip of it. Now, if the body comes with an idea and it's over his pay grade, like I said, you have a nation to build. There's other lifers or people that's been around longer that will give you or tell you a way to go about it. But don't forget the old ways, the new ways. You have to adjust to the new era. That new era is a adjustable point for that elected president to know what's best fit. For example, a 30-year national president bring ideas to the table of this new era is not the same time. It's two different times. So now your president is doing best, take it a little piece by piece and make it the new era.
Right.
Example, everywhere we ride and drive, there's cameras on the street. A long time ago, there wasn't cameras on the street. So be mindful of that part.
Okay.
Very valid points.
The police officers was different.
Those are very valid points, and that's why I've always believed in term limits on any office, because especially that of the president and the national president, because of that fact right there. You have to move your club forward. It's an ever forward moving thing. Don't be stuck in a rut.
Hey, you know what, Fat Boy, I wanted to ask you. So we've been chopping up for a minute about a few different things, but in regard to, so we're talking about the number one, number two, number three. How do you know you got a good number three? And the flip side of that, how do you know you got a bad number three? And what, if anything, can you do to fix it if you got one?
Well, who's number three? Because now I'm confused.
Well, no, I'm saying, well, for the general sense, when I say number three, I'm talking about a sergeant at arms.
Okay.
Sergeant of arms will never be liked by anybody.
Everybody hates this dude.
No, it has to be hated. If anybody likes you, you ain't gonna get nothing done.
Right.
Okay. The number one and number two are the two that run. The number one runs the nation, and number two runs the chapter. The number three is the last to answer between the number one and number two ideas to make it official within the three of them.
Okay.
My number three opinion is gonna be the last to even do our law. He might come with a good idea, and again, the president or VP will listen to it and derive it to the best he fit. A number three is can be keep with everybody. Because when the time comes down to put down a fine or do something to put the law down, I can't be on that friendly typically.
Right.
I tell my number three, me and my number three is very close. I tell him any day and every whatever action you gotta take upon you, you do what you gotta do. That's your position. If I know I'm out of hand, I'm out of hand. You put a fine or whatever the case may be on it, I have to accept it. That doesn't mean I can't have a drink with you after that.
Right.
You feel me? So he has to earn his respect and walk around, because one day he's gonna be the number one. Because he knows what laws and everything that needs to be done to run that chapter.
Right.
So that number three is a human that will never be right. Shouldn't be right.
Right. Yeah, like I was telling them, I was telling these brothers earlier, I'm like, my dad used to say, man, if everybody likes you, ain't, no, excuse me, he used to say, if you ain't pissing somebody off, you're not doing it right. You know? But I really think when I think of that expression, yeah, I think of that with a sergeant at arms. Hey, look, if somebody ain't mad, you ain't doing your job. You know? Nah, I feel you.
If they don't talk about you, you ain't doing shit.
Right on, brother. Hey,
it's one of these things.
Hey,
you're on top of the food chain. Ain't no joke.
Yep, facts.
It is
facts.
what it is. Protocol.
That's it.
I'm not trying to be. Yeah. Right.
No, I'm over here with the amen corner. I'm digging what you're saying. That's all.
Oh yeah. You got a lot of good education. Hopefully, anybody else that's watching.
And I got to tell you, we appreciate in a huge fashion that you called in. For those folks who don't know, Fat Boy is this dude is like MC royalty, and you blessed us with taking time out of your life to give us a shout, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate it very well. I'm still jealous about the fact that you down there in South Florida though, because y'all got better weather than we do. I damn near froze trying to get back from Panama City the other night. I don't know.
What? You damn near frozen 70-something degrees?
No, oh no, dude. Coming back from Panama City last night, dude, that shit dropped down to like 38 or 40 degrees.
Yeah,
Something
it's
like that.
I-10. That's good riding weather up here, man. It was 27 degrees the other day when I rode home. Quit your whining. Every time we do a show, you whine about Florida weather.
In Florida, that is like the devil. That is like Satan coming to harass us. Because
you don't know what it's like, Shaggy, to be riding in the cold. He don't understand that when you out riding. It's 15
we still
degrees
got grass
outside.
around here, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's against my religion. I stopped doing that in my 20s. Well,
that's what happens when you live in them states and all they can grow is pine trees. They don't change the leaves down there.
Look, hey, Fat Boy.
Never to ride again.
Yo, Fat Boy. Look, when I was a probie, I swear to you, I felt like they were sending me to every cold ass state they could think of. Just every time the temperature dropped below 20 degrees, for some reason, somebody needed to send my probie ass to that state. Like there's something, I don't know. I thought it was.
Hey, we bitched and complained about how some of the other shows were doing with their whining. We kind of breaking the rules. There's no whining on the Boneyard.
Yeah, that's it. No whining on the Boneyard. I'll take that. But yo, man,
I think we all need to get one of them buttons. You know what I mean? So when you push it, like you get the whining, and you go.
It does that goat screaming sound.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the button. Hold on, there it is, right there. That's that whining button. So all right, how about this? Let's do it like this. From now on, anytime somebody start whining, you get them. It's the green button. The green button does that. Oh shit. But yo, I tell you what, man.
The question.
Yeah.
This podcast. What is the purpose of this podcast?
You know what? That's a great question. And me and Archbishop was just chopping up about this subject. It's protocol. The easy answer is protocol and education. But the idea of this show is to get folks familiar, in particular in the MC community, to get folks to know. And I say stay in your lane, and I don't mean it as harsh as it sounds. It's so that people will actually understand the history and traditions of what this motorcycle club thing, this biking thing, like what that is, but then also to find out where you fit in that. We get a lot of the show, when I say it's changed, what I mean is it's changed in the sense that we get a shit ton of phone calls, emails, text messages, social media from people involved on the set in different, and not just America, United States, Canada, South America, Europe, Asia, freaking where's that?
Australia.
Yeah, Australia. Almost forgot. Australia, huge. And what they're asking is, hey, I've got this issue, this problem. My sergeant at arms this, my president that, my treasurer so-and-so, my old lady this, that, and the other thing. The police are doing this and da-da-da-da-da. So there's folks who are in our lifestyle outside of our state, all over the country, that want to know, hey, how can I level this shit up a little bit? How can I do my thing better? And truth be told, I don't know everything. And Shaggy don't know everything. And neither does Archbishop or any of the folks that come and fuck with us on this show. But what we have is a meeting of minds, so we can chop it up and give our opinions about different stuff. And fortunately, the feedback that we get is a lot of people are benefiting from that. We've got support clubs, both of ours and other clubs. And look, there's diamond clubs that say, hey, man, we dig what you're talking about. I wish so-and-so knew this, So really, from an MC standpoint, this show is to help some folks out. We don't talk about, which anybody been watching this for a minute, they know we don't talk about no club business. We talk about MC stuff, because everybody, a lot of different folks have similar experiences. So that's what we're doing. Just, sharing the gospel of this MC shit, man. That's how we getting down.
Another thing too is
Yeah.
when Bone first started talking about doing this, and I shut my channel down because one of the things I had talked to Bone about was, hey man, pick up that mantle that I had to lay down on the ground abruptly, and keep going with the fact that all these other sites that are on YouTube, they're filled with so much baloney and bullshit about our lifestyle that it was good to see another man that's kind of lived somewhat similar lifestyle that I lived, and can take that forward. And it's not just it's a 1%ers way or whatever, but it's a guy who was in a 99 and then he became a diamond, and he took the real part of being in a motorcycle club, the important stuff, not like there's a cop that's got his own site, and there's these other guys that are in RCs, running their sucks, and then you got guys who hadn't been in clubs forever running their mouths, and guys who bought their patches and think they're somebody running their mouths. It's about putting the correct stuff out there without giving away the mystery of being in a motorcycle club and the secrets that they need to go and learn on their own.
But we get
Second question.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, brother.
Shaggy, where are you out of? You don't mind me asking.
Where am I out of? I'm out of the great state of Missouri. I live in St. Louis.
Okay. Are you part of any club?
Excuse me?
Are you part of a club in the community?
Yes, I am. I have been for 22 years.
Okay, good.
And Shaggy,
Right.
we went to the MCOM, which is the National COC. We had the national meeting in Nashville back in July, and Shaggy came there and attempted to get people drunk with alcohol because he's funny acting that way. And but anyway, hey fellas, hang on 1 second. We getting a call. Stand by 1 second. Hey, this is I know who you are, but allow me to do my introduction properly. Dagon, thank you for calling the Big BoneYard tonight. You are joined with you're joining a whole lot of folks. You got Big Bone 1%er, Archbishop 1%er, and Inquired 1%er from the Mighty Outcast Nation, and you got Uncle Dagon Shaggy 1%er from Invaders Nation. And it looks like this is Big Baby calling us. Big Baby, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, bro? You know what's funny? I'm actually backstage waiting for you to let me in.
Oh, are you really? Oh shit! Are you really? Why don't I see you? Are you really?
I really am.
I don't.
He's not really.
Stop playing. Oh wait, hold on. Wait. Oh shit! You really are. Oh motherfucker. Hold on. Wait. Stand by. Bam. Big Baby. That's
hey, what's going on, fellas?
Baby.
What's going on, man?
How y'all doing? What's going on, Shaggy? What's going on, Inquiry? What's going on, Bishop and Bone? It's a pleasure to be with you guys this evening.
Man, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. And you got impeccable timing. And in just not right now this second, but in just a little bit, I'm gonna kick myself off because I got to go and join another broadcast. Shaggy from Insane Throttle. But in the meantime, brother,
you mean Hollywood from Insane Throttle?
What I say?
That is about the lowest form of insult I can take. I can speak eloquently. I can pronounce my words. I can spell. I can count. I can actually walk and talk at the same time. And I don't tattoo my face.
Man, y'all know I've been drinking all night. I'm glad I can still speak English. But in the meantime, Big Baby, man, what's going on, brother? It's good to see you.
Not much, man. I always catch the show generally after it's aired because I'm always in the middle of something. So tonight I was like, you know what, just let me jump on in here and see how you guys are doing. And I missed most of your conversation. I've missed most of the content, but I just wanted to, I always support you guys, and so here I am.
Man, brother, we appreciate it. For those of y'all that don't know, Big Baby was extremely instrumental. And when we were first starting the show, Big Baby worked on it was the birthday video? Was it that one?
Yeah, I did the birthday video for you.
The birthday video, which if y'all haven't seen that, definitely when you go through YouTube, click but find it. It's like one of the very first things that went up there. But Big Baby actually put that whole thing together, and it's straight freaking fire. It's got like like over 1,500, 2,000 views or something like that. Which for us that's kind of a big deal. But people dig it. I hear about people talking about it all the time. So definitely we appreciate that. You've been showing us a lot of love the whole entire time. Fat Boy's on the line, and Fat Boy said to tell you, Big Baby, he don't like you. Or I might have made that up. I don't know. You still there, Fat Boy?
Yeah, I'm still there. I did not see that before. It was wrong. I like the funny colors.
Yeah. I had a couple funny colors tonight.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I say that look like a bag of Skittles in there.
Go ahead and block them right now, bro.
Yeah,
hey,
we're very confused. We don't even understand what that is.
well, at the end of the day, one thing you're gonna realize is that this club has nothing to do with right here, but it's everything to do with right here. You know what I'm saying?
Lord of mercy. All right, I feel you. Well said. Well, I'll tell you what. Just to kind of chop it up, to delve into the subject. Just so you know what we're talking about. We were talking about I think the title of the show was MC Boss, right? And how do you make how to build a solid chapter? And so we were talking about chapter presidents and VPs and sergeant at arms. We didn't go too much past that, a little bit past that. But the idea is, so since you're joining us, motherfucker, perhaps you could give us a little bit. By the way, we are allowed to cuss and stuff. We can do that because we're grown ups and shit. But no, real talk, man. If you was to put like in a nutshell type of thing, what qualities do you look for, or should a chapter be looking for in their best in a chapter president or a VP or a sergeant arms?
There was a wise man who once said that as leadership in your chapter, you're a servant to that chapter.
I said that. No, all right, good. All right, I'm shutting up.
And so I'm going to say that you have to understand your people. I mean, most of all, you have to understand your people, understand who you have doing what and everything like that. Work with a boss should be working with the strength of their members, and I mean that's the start of it all. You start there, and then everything else can begin to flow.
Right on. Well said. And fellas, with that, and damn, Big Baby, you got the last word. With that, actually, let's do shit fairly. I appreciate that. We definitely do, because that's some gems, and I'm putting some of them in my pocket. But Shaggy,
yes, sir.
What anything to send us out? What, if anything, do you got to say? We'll go around the table a little something. And
respect, communication, participation makes every organization great. You follow those three things, you can never go wrong. Elections are not a popularity contest. Do what's best for your club. Put the best leaders in place. You make your club better, and it will also strengthen the community, because then the community will stop. A lot of these guys quit making front page news because good, solid motherfuckers are sitting down at a table and talking like big boys and big girls should. And then finally, fly your colors, ride your motorcycles, love your brothers, love your club, love each other unconditionally. And if you don't like what we said here tonight, fuck off, tuck your dick, go away. This is about being in a motorcycle club, a man's world, not a bunch of sissies we got running around. Thank you and have a good night.
Well,
I think you summed that up right there. I think you summed that up.
Yeah.
Hey, Fat Boy, if you was to say, basically, same question, brother. Take us out with your 2 cents on MC bosses. How do we do it? How do we make this song, your chapter, the best thing it's going?
Hey man, like I said, listen, understand, and build what's best fit to for your chapter. And once you do that, then you build with the rest of your nation based on what your area does. Every area is different.
Facts. That's the thing.
Different things work for different chapters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like This is a motorcycle thing. Who don't like it? Will suck a dick. Eat an egg and swallow.
That
And
part.
it's just, love your brothers, ride your shit, and, mind your business. Do what you do best.
Word, word.
You know?
Inquire, what say you, sir?
Sir, I say be unbiased. Hold everybody fucking accountable to what needs to be done. Lead by example, for real. If you don't know how to lead by example, talk to the motherfuckers who know how to lead by example. Learn your craft and what you do. You know what I'm saying? Practice that brotherhood. I hear this word brotherhood thrown around all the goddamn time, but yeah, some people throw this shit around like you throw around the word love. Shit. Hey, if you're gonna love me,
Right.
If you're gonna show me brotherhood, show me brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? So most of all, leaders, be unbiased. Be fair to everybody, hold everybody accountable.
Word.
Show no favoritism whatsoever in this world we live in.
Yeah. Well said, brother. Archbishop, what say you, sir?
Well, I agree with Inquirer and Shaggy actually.
But they fib a lot. You do know they fib a lot,
yeah,
though.
So
there's that.
I'd say that accountability is key, not only for the president keeping the body accountable, but the body keeping the president accountable as well.
Okay.
That's the main thing. Second thing is being able to, you're really gonna have to know the strength of your chapter. You need to know your bros. Real quick, Shaggy said something earlier about being with every bro, breaking bread with them or whatever. That's key. You get to. If you think about it, how many brothers in your chapter that you could say that knows just about everything there is to know about you? Know who your kids are, what your kids' names are, where they go to school at, whatever. These guys are supposed to be the people that you can depend on before you depend on your family. But do they actually know anything about you, though? So you're gonna have to be able to set up things to where you can be able to establish that connection, that camaraderie with your bros. You build that strength there. You take that strength along with the strengths that they have that in those particular offices that's going to be able to build that chapter, and you'll be golden. You'll be surprised how much a person knows if all you had to do just ask them.
Facts, brother. Hey, excellent. I'll throw in my little 2 cents, and with me, I agree with everything y'all said except for Fat Boy because he's kind of intimidating. But no, I'm just playing. No, but real talk, man. I think that the biggest thing is if you find yourself in one of those positions, and I'm sure we've said this, but you know what? Like Inquirer said, learn your craft. Learn your craft, man. That's some gems. I said I'm picking them up, putting them in my pocket because learn your craft, but drop the ego. If Pac was here, he'd be saying that. Drop the ego. This ain't about an ego thing. This is about what's in the best interest of your chapter. If you actually love your chapter, then you love your patch more than you're concerned with bullshit, you're going to do the right thing. You got to love your patch better than you hate somebody who's made you mad this week. Get out your feelings. Fuck your feelings. Do what's necessary for your chapter. Do what's necessary for your nation. If you do that, a lot of shit's going to take care of itself. But in the meantime, I got to tell y'all, for all of those folks that joined us tonight, both those of y'all that are watching, which we absolutely appreciated. We had good special guests tonight. Fat Boy from doggone South Florida. Black Dragon dropped by to hollers. Big Baby's antisocial ass actually came to say what's up to us. And doggone Uncle Shaggy, you're always here with us, brother, from day one. You know we got love for you, brother. You know that. And next time, I think you owe me a beer. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway,
President Ford, but it's too cold up here for you.
Well, yeah, there's that. But Inquires dropped by to holler at us, man. But listen, we appreciate in a huge way everybody participating with us and helping us grow this thing and blow it up. And look, we're gonna keep doing this thing, man. And for those of y'all that's watching, if you ever have a question, don't be shy. You don't have to wait until next Sunday. That you can catch us on social media. Send a what do you call that? Send a message on Facebook or Instagram or which have you. By the way, Archbishop, I had his information listed improperly. I corrected it. It's actually it's that same thing I said minus the arch, but I don't know what it is, but it's there. We fixed it. It's there. But look, y'all can get at us, man. Any question about anything, wherever the hell you are. Australia, what's up, Australia? We love y'all. Y'all love us back. But anyway, I'm going to shut the hell up, man. But listen, thank y'all very much for joining us tonight on the Big BoneYard, man. It's been a hell of a absolute blast, and we're going to do it again next week.
Y'all take care.
Right on, brother.
Welcome to the Big BoneYard.